Turn the page on opening day and clear the slate for Game 2 right here in Oakland. Tonight, the Rangers' senior statesman, Colby Lewis, makes his 2015 debut. He's healthy and hoping to build on a strong second half from last season. Stay up late, settle in as your Rangers and the Oakland A's meet next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Uverse TV. Well, a beautiful, cool evening here in the East Bay, Oakland, California. The site of the second game of this four-game series, your Rangers being hosted by the Oakland Athletics. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us on this Tuesday night of Ranger baseball, the second night of the 2015 schedule. And the Rangers have their seasoned veterans going, Tom, and that's Colby Lewis, who has enjoyed not only pitching against the A's, but enjoyed pitching in this ballpark.
He really has, Buzz. And we talked about him in the pregame show. Took him a while to get used to his healthy body last year, but he really finished the season strong. That's nice knowing he did that coming into this season. It's also nice knowing how well he's pitched in this ballpark. Against the A's in this ballpark, he's 8-4 with a 3.23 ERA. He also pitched for the A's, and if you take the total games he's pitched here, it's even better. 6-3 with a 3.05 ERA. So Colby finished strong last year. Rangers need a win tonight. He's pitched well here. They've got the veteran on the mound. I'm betting on Colby Lewis.
There you go. He's pitching close to his home down in Bakersfield, California, about 250 miles or so in the Central Valley from Oakland. Chris Fielder and the Rangers trying to get back on track offensively. Game 2 of this four-game series, Rangers and A's, coming up next on Fox Sports Southwest. West is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get your best in Texas Ford dealer today. by AT&T Uverse TV. Uverse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Some puffy clouds flitting by in the distance before the Rangers come to bat before we get underway. Let's head down to the field and check in with Dana Larson. Dana?
Buzz, Colby Lewis is in the Rangers season opening rotation for the 6th time in his career. And as you mentioned moments ago, a Bakersfield native, so just about 4.5 hours away from here. And he clearly feels right at home in this ballpark.
Having friends and family around. I feel like I've thrown pretty well in Anaheim too. I think it's just one of those things that just a little extra adrenaline, having friends here and stuff like that. So we'll see. The ball, this is a big ballpark too, so the ball doesn't really fly a bunch. So if you keep the ball down and you're able to get a lot of quick outs and stuff. So like I said, really looking forward to it, and should be exciting.
Buzz and Tom, last year Colby Lewis led the team with 29 starts and said that he hopes tonight is the first of 30 to 35 this season. Like the sound of that, don't you, fellas?
You've got that right, Dana. That would be nice to see the veteran out there for 30 to 35 starts and then pitch on into October. Now let's take a look at the Southwest Airlines batting order for the Rangers, Tom.
The Rangers are going to go with Leonis Martin leading off in center field, followed by Elvis Andrus and Prince Fielder. Adrian Beltre bats 4th at third base. Shin-Soo Choo in right field, followed by Ryan Rua. Batting 7th is the DH Mitch Moreland. Carlos Corcoran gets his first start as a Ranger tonight behind the plate. And Rougned Odor at second base bats 9th.
And the Rangers facing the 25-year-old right-hander Jesse Hahn. Hahn, a big guy at 6'5" and about 190 pounds, so a pretty tall drink of water. He signed originally by the Tampa Bay Rays and had all kinds of arm problems. Tom told he missed a couple of seasons with Tommy John surgery. Got traded over to the Padres and made his first foray into the major leagues last year. Had never pitched above A ball prior to 2014. Went to San Antonio, which is Double-A with the Padres. Ended up going 7-4 with San Diego in his first call-up to the big leagues, and now with the Oakland A's as their number 2 starter this year. Defensively, Zobrist, Fold, and Gentry at left, center, and right. Ike Davis at first. Had a great game last night defensively. Sogard, Semien up the middle. Brett Lowry at third. And Stephen Vogt is catching. We are underway from Odotco Coliseum. Leonis Martin looks at strike one. Martin. And I won't continue the offers telling you what the guys did last night, because let me just say that only one Ranger got a hit, and that was Ryan Rua. Good play for Semien, and safe as Leonis Martin able to beat out the throw from Marcus Semien.
Boy, he got down the line quick because the shortstop made a nice play on that ball. Wasn't a hard hit ball, but he got to it quickly. He got rid of it quickly. And we're trying to decide in the Oakland dugout whether they're going to have a replay. Bob Melvin said, nope, we like the call.
Bob Melvin had come out on the warning track just momentarily, and he got the word from upstairs that, no, that was probably the right call. So, Rangers have already equaled their hit total from last night.
It's funny, boy, you go all that time without a hit last night and one little infield chopper, and you got a hit already.
And we'll see if the Rangers can get Leonis Martin running. Double play ground ball to Semien. And the A's turn it on the first pitch to Elvis Andrus. That takes the wind out of your early inning sails.
Yeah, looking for a little rally there after last night's ball game.
A's turned one double play last night, and they have one here in the first. So base is empty now, 2 away. Prince Fielder. And the A's employing the shift to the big Ranger first baseman. Fielder hit the ball hard a couple times last night. He looked much, much better than at any time we saw him last year. As far as swinging the bat, he could let it go, and it looked like there was no hesitation in his swing at all. Last season, just a 247 mark, 42 games, only 3 home runs.
Pretty good changeup right there.
Yeah, Hahn will throw that changeup. He throws a circle change, and it has pretty good downward action too, along with the lack of velocity. Also has a big over-the-top curveball. That's his strikeout pitch. That one, and it got Fielder, looked like on the back leg. Prince trying to get out of the way, the ball following him. And the big guy's going to take first base, the hit by pitch. Got him on the front knee. Not much you can do as a hitter. That ball just keeps following you inside. It's the ball breaking into Prince Fielder.
Now, you always hear the question, Buzz, who has the advantage? A hitter who's never seen a pitcher or a pitcher who's never seen a hitter? And I think when you've got a guy like Hahn, who lights up the radar gun pretty well, 92 to 94 miles an hour, and then has a nice changeup and a big curveball, I think he has the advantage over the hitters. He's going to probably pitch his game as a young pitcher regardless of who the hitters are, but the hitters really don't have any idea what to expect seeing this kind of a pitcher with good stuff for the first time.
Adrian Beltre celebrating his birthday today, and he takes a strike to even the count.
We talked about the Oakland A's and their ability to develop, trade for, however you want to acquire them, young pitching. And it seems like every year young pitchers break into their rotation, have a good assortment of pitches, know how to pitch and throw strikes, regardless of their experience. And this guy, as you said, has no experience, really. 163 minor league innings. That's it. Now, he's a college pitcher, which helps a little bit. But in today's game, you frequently see guys with 400, 500, and 600 innings in the minor leagues. He's only got 160.
He jumps ahead of Beltre, a ball and 2 strikes. Adrian celebrating birthday number 36 tonight. Hasn't exactly fared well offensively on his birthday. Only has 1 home run. He's played with tonight now 13 times on his birthday. Averaged just a 214 on those days. 2-2. You saw the numbers for Beltre, though, in this ballpark. Adrian has always enjoyed hitting here at the Coliseum. 302 is overall average since the start of 2013. Out towards second, and Sogard will flip it to Simeon. That'll do it. Rangers get a hit batter, and Strand won. The double play took care of anything else. After half inning of play, Rangers nothing. A's coming up on Fox Sports Southwest. From half of inning number 1. And Tom will tell you the lineup as set forth by Bob Melvin.
The A's today will go with Sam Fuld leading off in center field. Eric Sogard moves from the bottom of the order to the top of the order at second. Ben Zobrist and Billy Butler third and fourth. Ike Davis at first base bats fifth. Brett Lowry at third base. Stephen Vogt at catcher, followed by Marcus Semien and Craig Gentry eighth and ninth. Semien at shortstop, Craig Gentry in right field.
And they will be facing the 35-year-old right-hander Colby Lewis from Bakersfield, California. And his first pitch this evening is in for strike one. Colby last year led the Rangers in wins, tied for the lead with 10 wins and innings pitched. Just about every pitching category. The one constant in the Ranger rotation last year was Colby Lewis. One or fewer walks at 16 of 29 starts. Nothing fancy. Colby comes right after hitters. A good fastball slider combination. An occasional changeup. Just missed the outside corner. It's a ball and 2 strikes to Fuld. Sam Fuld last night. If you look at his numbers from last season overall, Fuld with a triple and a single. He scored a run. He was batting second last night behind Craig Gentry. And tonight, Fuld has moved up to the leadoff spot. Gentry down to the number 9 slot. Poked foul. We'll try it again at 2 balls, 2 strikes. A 54-degree evening here in Oakland. And let's take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by Chicken Express. Rua, Martin, and Chu, left, center, and right. Fielder, Odor, and Andrews up the middle. Adrian Beltre at third. Carlos Corporant, the only change from last night as far as the 8 fielders out there, is catching for Colby Lewis. Another 2-2. Fuld being a little pesky.
If Fuld teed off on a couple of high fastballs in last night's game, he drove a ball about as far as he can hit one to center field in this ballpark for his triple. He got a couple of good pitches to hit. Took advantage of it in last night's ball game.
Again, Colby getting him on the fist. That's by Colby, a flip, and not in time. Colby made one pass at it, didn't come up with it, tried to flip it with his glove, but Fuld getting down that line, able to leg it out. So the 2 leadoff men, infield dribblers, and that'll probably be a base hit. It is.
Colby made a bunch of good pitches in that at bat. He spoiled a couple by fouling them off and beat one into the ground and got a base hit. If that was in Arizona, that ball would have rolled to second base and Odor would have been able to make the play on it.
Yeah, you're right about that. Oh. So leadoff single for Fuld, his third hit in the first game plus an inning here in Oakland. Eric Sogard moved up to the number 2 slot tonight. He was 2 for 4 last night.
Well, that was a strike last night.
Yep.
That low pitch around the knees. Bill Miller consistently called that pitch last night.
Doug Eddings calling the balls and strikes tonight, and doesn't have the same sense of the bottom part of the strike zone. See our pitch tracker that telling me that was very definitely a strike last night.
Yeah, we remarked all game long how consistent that Bill Miller was with that call, and if it was there, it was a strike, and if it was just a little bit lower than that, it was a ball. He had a very consistent strike zone.
Colby just misses off the outside corner. And that runs the count now to 3 balls and no strikes. Sogard hitting second, to be followed by the switch hitting versatile hitter and Ben Zobrist. Versatile player, I should say. There goes Fuld. The pitch is outside. The throw to second. And it's ball 4 anyway. I think Corporant came up throwing. He thought that pitch was going to be a strike, but he might have come up in his haste to get the ball out of the glove and down to second and block Doug Eddings' view of the pitch. Sometimes that happens when catcher comes up a little bit quickly. In any event, it's a walk, 2 aboard.
I guess Sam Fuld, you're feeling pretty confident in your ability to steal second base if you're going on that was a 3-0 pitch, wasn't it? You're going on a 3-0 pitch. That was actually a pretty good pitch to throw, but he had a big lead and a big jump. I guess he knew he could steal that base. You don't see a guy go on a 3-0 count very often.
Well, the first two A's aboard, and now Ben Zobrist, who was 2 for 5 last night. Got Oakland scoring started in the very first inning. The opener here last evening with a 2-run home run.
If that pitch was a strike, Sogard's not going to swing at a 3-0 pitch, you wouldn't think. So that's just one where the runner at first base was confident in his jump, confident in his lead, and didn't care what happened with a hitter. He's confident he could steal second base. Didn't matter. It was ball 4 anyway.
Right. Fooled at second, Sogard at first. Corcoran out to have a little chat with Colby to see if he can kind of settle him down and get his mind off the bad things that have just happened. Refocus it on the good things that you want to have happen. Blowing in. 2-0. And Mike Maddox now going out along with Kevin Harmon, the trainer. And it's possible.
If he did something on that little tapper back to the mound.
He might have. It looked like he got off the mound fine, and Colby looks kind of incredulous. Said, "What are you guys doing out here?" "I'm all right." Yeah, I didn't see anything else that could have been. Colby bouncing off the mound on that little tapper that Sam Fuld hit.
He almost made that a close play with that flip.
Yep.
Came out of nowhere. Prince had to be alert to be able to catch that ball, otherwise he would have flipped it right past him.
3 balls, no strikes. Colby working himself into a pretty good pickle here in the first inning.
Yeah, this is very unusual for Colby to throw 14 pitches and have only 5 of them be strikes.
Zobrist taking all the way. It's 3-1. Zobrist hitting third. He'll be followed by the DH for the A's. That's Billy Butler. Infield single, a walk, and a 3-1 count to Ben Zobrist. Popped up. That is playable if anybody can get to it. Beltre over the shoulder makes the catch with his back to home plate. Shades of Willie Mays.
Yeah, I don't think there's many third basemen that can make that. There aren't many third basemen who can make that play like Adrian. That's a tough play to run that far, straight back, look back over your head and catch it like that. That's a nice play. You got to go a long way for that.
Boy, that is worth the price of admission to see something like that.
And at the end, he's not even looking at that ball. He's just looking down at his glove and catches that ball. Omar Vizquel played for the Rangers a little bit. He's about the best I've ever seen going back on pop-ups, but that's about as far as a third baseman is going to run and catch one. Big out for Colby after 2 on and nobody out.
Great play by Beltre. Fuld still at second, Sogard at first. Here's Billy Butler, who had an RBI double last night.
Make a good pitch, get a ground ball to shortstop, and get a double play, get right out of the inning.
Good slider for strike 1. Yeah, Butler throughout the years has grounded into a lot of double plays. He's either at the top of the American League or pretty close to it almost every year. That's exactly what the doctor's ordering up for Colby right here. One ball and 1 strike. If Beltre can get it, to second, Odor, the return in time.
Beautiful.
And a great turn by Rougned Odor with Eric Sogard right in his lap. Well, Colby does indeed get out of it. No runs ahead, 1 left. After 1, we are scoreless in Oakland. May 2nd, following the game against these A's. Come on out to Globe Life Park in Arlington and see Tracy Lawrence presented by Budweiser. Tickets and passes to watch the game, or I should say the show from the field, are available at TexasRangers.com/concerts. Well, we head to the top of the second inning, scoreless ball game, and joining us now in the booth, delighted to have the Ranger president and general manager, John Daniels. John, thanks a lot for taking time to come up and visit. It's been kind of a whirlwind since the end of spring training for you.
Yeah, well, it's nice to come out. It's a little warmer up here than it is down there. Thank you guys for having me.
Sure. Yes, you get finished with spring training and all that is encompassed by the last few days, all the decisions that have to be made, and it's got to be kind of a breath of fresh air to finally get into the regular season and get things going.
It is, yeah. It's, especially with Banny, new manager, some new guys on the staff, a lot of new guys on the team. Some of that were here last year, but really the first time this club had been together. And as much as you want to really see them come together in spring training, as you guys know, there's starts with 60 guys in the room, and even by the end, you still have 30, 35 guys. It's nice to get down to the 25, and I actually, for that reason, like opening on the road. I think we had the off day here Sunday. I think team dinners, staff dinner, and the guys able to spend a little time with each other.
Well, Zobrist having some trouble the last couple of nights out there in left field. Looked like he had a bead drawn on that pretty well, and the ball shot right over his head, and Shin-Soo Choo in for a leadoff double.
Yeah, Shin-Soo hit that ball a little bit too hard for Zobrist to get back on it. The ball jumped off his bat. Nice to see. Take that ball the other way. High strike. Drive it right over the left fielder's head.
We have as many base runners now as we did yesterday.
Exactly.
It's funny how easy it is to get a hit tonight compared to last night. We hit a couple balls hard last night, but unfortunately, they either right at somebody or the A's played some pretty good defense, too.
Yeah, I thought Moreland, first ball he hit to left field off the bat, I thought he got it.
Yeah.
That ball driven to deep center field. Going back is Full at the track, and he makes the catch. Choo tags at second. He will motor into third, and Rua gave that a pretty good ride, but he gets the job done. Rangers now have a runner at third and one out for Mitch Moreland.
Well, Ryan had a couple of good at-bats last night, too. He had the base hit, a well-hit ground ball to right field. He also just missed a breaking ball that he hit to pretty deep left center field. And he tees off on that ball to center field. This is not a real good part of the park for the ball to carry. If that same ball in some other ballparks is going to end up a little bit better than that.
Ruiz probably swung the bat as well as anybody the last 2 weeks of camp against the Mets, and then obviously last night got our one hit.
No, the A's now about halfway with the infield. Mitch Moreland takes that big overhand curveball for strike one.
Now, as Ryan came up through the minor leagues, he wasn't a high draft choice. Was he a guy that snuck up on people, or you knew about him and you expected him to hit and you were kind of counting on him to do that?
Kind of in between. I think he had that huge first half at Frisco. Excuse me, at Hickory his first year, and he was a little old for the level, and so guys were kind of thinking, hey, he's got to continue to hit and continue to do it, and then we skipped him a level, pushed him up to Frisco last year, and he just kept hitting. And obviously got his way up to the big leagues, and he's one of these guys that puts on 20, 25 pounds over the winter. I mean, he looks the part right now, and generally loses some of it during the year, but the power has come on, I think, a little bit, and the guy we're excited to see this year.
I guess you have to, I couldn't name the scout who signed him, but I guess you have to tip your hat to the scout that discovered him in college, drafted him, even though you drafted him fairly low, but someone had a pretty good idea what they were looking at, I guess.
Yeah, Roger Coryell is our scout in the Midwest, and he got our Scout of the Year award this past winter.
Right.
Because he identified Rua, I think, a 17th round pick, and then Klein, I think, in the 30th round. And to get two guys in the big leagues late in the draft. He also had Jared Hoying, who wouldn't shock me if he plays in the big leagues for us this year. Sure. Another guy out of that area. I think sometimes in those smaller areas, those cold weather areas, guys don't play as much. They don't get seen as much, and you get some good finds.
Corcoran to left center field, and that ball is eaten alive by the size of this ballpark at night. So the Rangers a leadoff double by Choo. Strand him at third. We played 1.5. John, can you hang on with us for half a minute or so?
Sure.
All right, appreciate it. No score in Oakland. West is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get your best in Texas Ford dealer today. A beautiful shot of the Bay Bridge, Treasure Island, and Yerba Buena. Out there in the San Francisco Bay, scoreless ball game. John Daniels, Rangers president, general manager, joining us as we head to the bottom of the second inning. John, appreciate you staying around for the extra half inning. When you were looking to hire a manager in October of this past year, you made the statement you wanted to have not just a guy that would occupy the manager spot. You wanted to have a partner to deal with you and the organization as a partner. How has that process gone for you and Jeff Bannister?
Well, through the off-season, spring training, putting the roster together, making decisions about the staff, it's been a blast to work with. I think the first thing really was when we hired him and we're putting the staff together. As we went through the interview process, you ask all the candidates, who do you want on your staff, and most guys had, kind of here are my guys that I want to bring in from outside, and which is fine. That you want to have a network of good people to bring in, but at the same time you want to be able to also promote from within when it makes sense, when you have deserving candidates, as we felt we did. And so his reaction was, hey, I've got that list, but you first tell me who the difference makers are in the organization. I think that sent such a huge positive message throughout the organization that it wasn't going to be this kind of separation of the big league club and the minor leagues, that the guys that had put their time in and grinded were going to truly get out an opportunity. And he was given he could have brought in anybody he wanted, and promoted Steve Buechele, Jace Tingler, and Hector Ortiz, three, I think studs and really well-deserving guys, and not just put them in random spots. He's got Buechele as his right-hand man in the bench. So, for me that was a statement. And I think as we started going through through spring training, and he would have, everybody has their major league staff meeting, with the guys that are in big league camp. Well, he opened it up to basically anybody that was in camp. Scout coming through, or front office, or minor league staff that was there early for the mini camp, to be part of it. And he threw out, just basic baseball kind of conversation to the group, and hey, no doubles defense, a variety of different things. Drawing a blank on some of the topics he threw out, but he kind of wanted to hear everyone's opinion. The minor league managers, minor league coaches, pitching coaches, different people in the organization whose opinion he respected. And I think it generated a lot of conversation, but also a lot of, I think, pride and fulfillment from the other people.
Sure.
When you look at it, he's been in those seats before. He's been a minor league coach, minor league manager, minor league field coordinator, major league coach, major league bench coach. I think he understands how to utilize and motivate a lot of people in a lot of different positions.
Kobe Lewis, 2 quick outs here in the second. A foul pop and a strikeout. Now he is dealing to Stephen Vogt. Vogt, of course, the big 3-run home run last night for the A's. He was 2 for 4 in that ball game. Good breaking ball. Colby slicing it in through the back door. Anxious to get all the guys off the disabled list and get back to 100% as far as the bullpen. It's at least.
Yeah, it's been a year-long process to clear off that DL. Obviously, Darvish, the big one, and it's going to be a full year. But fortunately, it looks like the other guys are all kind of within the range of, I don't know if you call them normal baseball injuries, but Tanner, he basically rolled his ankle and just missed time. He's healthy. He just didn't have enough time to knock the rust off and get going. But he should be active hopefully next week.
Vogt, a long fly, but it is an out, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. John, we sure appreciate it. We'll check in with you periodically and see how things are going.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. 1-2-3 inning. After 2 full, it is the Rangers nothing and the A's nothing. show during the regular season. You catch a spectacular fireworks display set to music from your favorite baseball movies. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com. In the third inning, Rougned Odor starting things off against Jesse Hahn, who misses outside for ball one. Rangers have had their leadoff man aboard in each of the first two innings. Haven't been able to get one across the plate yet, so they are still blanked for 2015. Odor taking a pitch. It's 1-1 strike. Rougned 0 for 2 last night. He was hit by a pitch. He became the first Rangers base runner in the third inning last night against Sonny Gray. And he gets punked again, this one by a breaking ball that came down right at his shoe tops and clipped his foot.
Second batter who's been hit by a curveball.
Well, the scouting report on Jesse Hahn was he had a nasty, wicked curveball, and you can see the break on that.
The best curveball he's thrown so far was the big strikeout he got with a man on third base and one out. That was a well-located pitch, got a swing and a miss.
Back to the top of the order now, and we'll toss to first. Leonis Martin, the hitter, had an infield single, so he is 1 for 5 on the young season. Rangers really the first opportunity here to use the top of the order with a man on base in this series in less than a couple of outs. Trying to bunt his way aboard. That was not a sacrifice attempt. He was trying to drag that ball with him. We'll go back to that curveball that Tom was telling you about. Mitch Moreland, an 0-2 pitch. Look at the bottom ball of that thing.
That was a great curveball. It served almost like a changeup. It fooled Mitch by the speed, and then the way it broke down gave him almost no chance to make any contact on it. It hangs up a little higher, you might be able to foul it off and put it in play.
Looked like a changeup that floated outside, and the count moves to 1-1. Well, Leonis established in that leadoff spot by Jeff Bannister about the middle of spring training. Go back over the last couple of years. Martin has had opportunities here and there to hit in the leadoff spot. Hasn't particularly enjoyed great success, but not bad either. And he's going to get an opportunity now to see what he can do on a consistent basis. 67 career starts as a leadoff hitter. He's hit .264. But he's only drawn 19 walks in those 67 career starts. So, you would like to see that rise just a bit. Hahn making sure that Odor doesn't take liberties over there with his lead at first base. One ball, one strike, nobody out. Top of the third inning. Rangers trying to break through into the run column for the first time this year. 1-2. That looked like the two-seam fastball that had some pretty good tail to it.
It really did. Leonis probably felt like he was on that pitch, and then it tailed away and sunk below his bat. Really nice movement on it. Rangers hit 3 balls extremely hard in the second inning. Got a double and then nothing to show for the other 2. Didn't score, but hit the ball hard 3 out of 4 batters.
Chopper to Simeon at short. Only play he has is to get Martin at first, into second, and into scoring position goes Rougned Odor. He's there with 1 out, and Elvis Andrus coming up. And before we see Elvis, let's take time for a Mazda game break. Here's John Radigan. John? All right, John, thank you. Elvis grounded into a double play and a ground ball to shortstop his first time. There's First pitch is off the plate inside for ball one. Elvis coming off a spring that saw him hit to a .333 clip. Remember, he missed the first week or so of games. He had that knee problem pop up, but it has caused him no problem since. 1 ball and 1 strike after the foul ball. On the road since the start of 2011, Elvis hitting about 15 points higher than he has at home. That's a little unusual, I think, for a guy like Elvis. You would think with the pretty good gaps at Globe Life Park that Elvis would have a better average at home, but not so. One and one the count as Hahn sets. Now 1-2. See the difference looking at the radar gun. 94 on that one, 91 on the two-seam fastball.
Yeah, there is a difference. Elvis tapped himself in the helmet after taking that pitch. That was a pretty good pitch to hit, just wasn't ready for it. Right down the middle of the plate.
Is that just a case of outthinking yourself, not being ready for the fastball?
I think so.
Lowry, a nifty short hop pickup. He fires across for out number 2. Odor forced to stay at second. Now Prince Fielder. We'll see what Hahn decides to do with Fielder here. You've got first base open, and it's kind of pick your poison. You got Fielder hitting third, right-handed hitting Adrian Beltre waiting in the on-deck circle. I'm going to go ahead and pitch to Fielder, but I would imagine pretty carefully. I take that back. He said, here, do something down in the zone and see what you can do with it. Fielder hit by that big breaking ball his first time up there. And the A's employing the shift, not as drastic as some we've seen with Fielder. 1-1. Shortstop Semien, you can see still on the third base side of second. Out in shallow right though, Sogard, and he's backing up now to close to medium right field. He's the rover out there. Fielder had that hook that didn't hook. It was up about letter high, and lack of velocity had him out in front of him just a little bit.
Yeah, you're right, Buzz. That was just a case of it wasn't the location, obviously. It was a good location to hit, but the change of speed made it look almost like a changeup.
1-2. Little looper, shallow center. Semien going out. He can't get it. It is down for a hit. Around third, in to score Rougned Odor. The Rangers have their first run of the season. They lead tonight 1-0.
Another pretty good pitch, off-speed pitch from Hahn to Fielder. And Prince was just kind of hanging in there, reached for it, hit it right off the end of the bat. I think it's a curveball. Pretty good one, too, down and away. Hit it off the end of the bat and hit it just hard enough to get over Semien's head and fall in for a base hit and an RBI.
Well, the Rangers draw first blood. Now here's Beltre. Adrian patterned into a fielder's choice that ended the Ranger first. The Rangers able to put together a hit batter, and 2 outs later, a bloop single for their run here tonight. Loop to right and foul off the bat of Beltre. Adrian walking around, kind of enjoying the evening. Nothing in 2. And a high chopper out to short. short way to Sogard. That will do it. But the Rangers able to come through with a 2-out single. Prince Fielder dunking one in, scores Odor, and he gives Colby Lewis a 1-0 lead as we head to the bottom of the third inning. And there's one happy Prince Fielder getting the Rangers off the snide. Marcus Semien starting things off against Colby Lewis, who has been given a 1-0 lead with which to work. 1 ball and 1 strike to Semien, who was 1 for 4 in last night's game with an RBI. Last season with the White Sox, 64 games. And Semien will pop this one up on the right side. 1 gone. Go take a look back at yesterday, our T-Mobile game changer. It was Hanley Ramirez of the Red Sox, his first game in Boston, and he just pummeled the Phillies for 2 home runs, 5 RBI in that big win for the Red Sox. Cole Hamels took the brunt of that beating. And Hanley Ramirez, 2 home runs, 5 driven in.
A lot of people are picking the Red Sox. People that like the Red Sox love their offense and feel like they'll have enough pitching. People wonder if they've got that ace at the top of the rotation that you need to go all the way to the World Series. But most people agree that they've got one of the best offenses in the American League, and they sure showed it the other day. Pedroia is healthy this year. He had a couple of home runs off Hamels. So they got some firepower in their lineup.
Pablo Sandoval now over there, the Kung Fu Panda. Boy, he's going to add a lot to that offense.
Well, everyone's saying the Red Sox should trade Swihart, their young catcher, for Cole Hamels. They won't do it. And so instead of getting Cole Hamels, they just bombed him on opening day instead.
Gentry now ahead of the count, 3 balls and a strike. Craig took an 0 for 5 last night. 3 punch-outs on opening night.
And Craig's a good guy to keep off the bases because you don't want him to get on a base and have a chance to steal a base. You can pretty much guarantee that he's going to be running right here.
And I would guarantee you, too, if you talk to Colby Lewis after this ballgame, regardless of what happens here, he's going to look back at Eric Sogard's at bat in the first inning when he walked him, and this walk to Craig Gentry with 1 out, and say, those are the 2 biggest mistakes I made.
Yeah, there's guys in the lineup that you say, well, if I walk them, they're really good hitters, and I was being careful. But there's some guys in the lineup that when you look at the lineup before you get the game, you say, okay, those are the guys I can't walk.
Right. Yeah, because their game is being on base for the big guys.
Yep. And of course, Craig batting 9th. His game is to get on base and steal a base. So Colby can use his slide step for over there and keep him from doing it. He'll have done a great job because you know Gentry wants to run right here.
like he might have been edging towards second as Colby Lewis fired one over there to keep him close.
Colby's well aware of his proficiency on the bases. He was 20 for 22 last year. Always had a good percentage with the Rangers.
Full. Let's go with the bat and kind of helicopters over by the television camera. Right by the Ranger dugout. Everybody's okay. The camera's okay, which is the most important thing.
Whoa, that was a close call.
Yes, it was. Check swing. It's a strike at the knees.
We'll have to ask a couple of cameramen, when do you abandon ship and just leave your camera to get out of the way? You know, you're looking through the lens to follow the ball on the field. You don't see that thing coming.
I would imagine that's a little bit tough to. You can't have divided attention. In the dirt, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
So far, Colby's done a good job disrupting Gentry at first base, who, again, you have to think under these circumstances, he wants to run. But so far, he's been unable to get that jump.
Gentry expanding that lead off, maybe a half a step further than he had been. Double play grounded Odor to Elvis, back to fielder. 4-6-3, and that takes care of the walk to Gentry. Side retired, nobody left, and after 3, it's the Rangers 1, the A's nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. Against the Angels, April 13th, 14th, and 15th is the perfect time to check out this brand new space. In 2015, fans will enjoy the newly renovated Cholula porch, where they'll get the same great food that have always been able to get before. The menu of grilled chicken sandwiches, hot dogs, nachos, popcorn, peanuts, and soda. Get your Cholula all-you-can-eat seats at TexasRangers.com. Shin-Soo Choo starting things off. Choo rocketed a double over the head of Ben Zobrist his first time up. One ball, one strike. Boy, for not having seen Jesse Hahn before, the Ranger hitters are. This ball's pretty hard against him. On the 25-year-old out of Virginia Tech University. Simeon. Off-balance throw. Drew retired. One gone here in the fourth inning. Fans, make your plans now to join us for complete coverage of the Rangers home opener on Friday. We've got a 3-hour pregame featuring Jeff Bannister, our own Mark McLemore and Pudge Rodriguez, plus tailgating at the ballpark, the Fox Sports Southwest Girls, and a whole lot more. It all gets started at noon on Friday and takes you right up until the first pitch at 3 o'clock, and it's only on Fox Sports Southwest. Here's Ryan Rua. Rua sent Sam Fulton, center fielder, all the way back to the track and real close to the wall to haul in his long drive in the second inning. 2 balls, no strikes.
I remember when Ryan got called up last year, he hit a lot of balls hard that were caught. Number of balls to the outfield. Done that already early in the season. Hit a ball pretty well last night, got under it a little bit. And the first time up today, he smoked one to center field and hit it very well. Just the wrong park and the wrong part of this park to hit one.
And as he did last year too, Tom, and I know we talked about it, he basically going line to line with his swings, and he's not strictly a pull hitter. He can drive it all over the ballpark.
Yep. And John Daniels talked about the extra weight that he put on. There's no doubt about it. We noticed that in spring training when we saw him, especially when you stand up next to him. He said he likes to put on weight coming into the season. He put on good weight, though. There's not much fat on him. That's just muscle that he put on. But he likes to put on a little bit of weight at the beginning of the year because he tends to lose it as the season goes on.
Payoff pitch on the way. Simeon charging, gets a belt high hop. Rule retired, 2 gone. Yeah, what did Ryan tell us? He put on about 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. There was no fat involved in that. That is a strong young man. 2 out, bases empty for Mitch Moreland. Speaking of strong, Mitch down on 3 pitches his first time up. Hahn dropped that big breaking ball in to get him. Nothing in 1 on the foul ball. Moreland 7 home runs since 2010. That's tied for second most among opponents of the A's. The leader in that category, Mike Trout, has 9. Mitch, pretty good company. And Mitch with 7. Also Josh Hamilton, Torrey Hunter, Mark Teixeira, Mark Trumbo. The 1-1. There's a base hit to center field. Oh, Mitch gets his first knock of the season. A 2-out single.
Rangers are facing a couple of pitchers that tend not to give up a lot of home runs. Sonny Gray only gave up 1 home run in 6 starts against the Rangers last year, over 40 innings. I think we had a graphic on Jesse Hahn in the pregame show where he'd only given up a couple of home runs in 160 minor league innings. That's pretty tough to do in the minor league. Some of those ballparks are pretty easy to hit home runs in. To throw 160 innings and barely give up a home run, that's pretty good.
Here's Carlos Corporán, who flied out to pretty deep left center field first time. He takes that big bender in for strike 1.
Yeah, he might have given up a home run to Carlos Corporán on a sunny afternoon day if he hit the same ball that he hit to center field.
Yeah. Carlos hits that same ball on Thursday. I think he's got a trot going. And Rua the same way to center field. 1 ball, 1 strike. Corporán coming over from the Astros in a trade that Rangers pulled off the 21st of January this year. John Daniels' company trying to find somebody to partner with Robinson Chirinos, form a 1-2 catching combo. 2-1. Here's the long fly you were talking about, Tom.
Yeah, I think he hit that ball right on the nose it just wasn't going to go anywhere today.
Nighttime in Oakland, whatever breeze there is, seems like it's always blowing in.
It works both ways. Stephen Vogt hit one that would have gone way out of here as well.
Yeah, if that ball that Vogt hit last night, if he hit the one he hit out of the ballpark, he pulled into right field. And he hit that same ball to center field, it dies into the center fielder's glove.
Yeah, I think he hit the one today to center just as well as he hit that one yesterday.
Corcoran inquiring with Doug Eddings about the count. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Corcoran able to stay alive, just getting a piece of that big curveball. If you've ever wondered what guys mean when they talk about a 12-6 curveball break after looking at a clock, just look at Jesse Hahn. That's a 12-6 break. Right from the top right down to the bottom, straight down. That's for Jesse Hahn, his, as we mentioned, his strikeout pitch. Also his main breaking ball. He'll throw an occasional slider, but to use that big overhand curve. And that's not an easy pitch to throw for a called strike. The thing breaks so big, it's hard to get it in the strike zone if the guy takes it. Corcoran not able to catch up with the breaking ball down around his fist. No runs, a hit, and 1 man left after 3.5. Rangers 1, A's nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by the Mazda 6. J.D. Power has awarded the Mazda 6 highest ranked vehicle appeal among mid-size cars. The cable cars downtown San Francisco. Across the bay, the Rangers leading the A's 1-0 as Eric Sogard starts by taking a breaking ball from Colby Lewis for strike 1. Sogard walked back in the first inning.
We've seen Sogard play quite a bit, playing the A's in 3 home-and-home series all season long over the years. I don't think I've ever seen him hit the top of the lineup. It's always been right at the bottom of the lineup.
Yep. Bob Belvin, the A's skipper, trying to figure out exactly where guys will fit in this lineup. But still, Belvin doesn't have Josh Reddick available to him, and Reddick will be back this weekend for the A's, and that'll kind of change things a bit. We'll probably get Reddick into the outfield, and Zobrist would move back primarily to second base and cut into Sogard's playing time a little bit.
And then, good call. Then in a couple of months, they'll get Coco Crisp back, who's usually right at the top of their order too. Good fastball. Sogard must have thought that pitch was inside. Let's see if it was. See where Carlos has his glove. And that's a good pitch.
Yep.
That was way up in the strike zone compared to some of the ones last night. And the ones last night were strikes by definition. They were touching the bottom of that strike zone. That one wasn't any question about that one.
No. Colby Lewis recording his second strikeout. And here is the aforementioned Ben Zobrist. Takes ball one. Zobrist out on a foul pop that Adrian Beltre made a marvelous catch on back in the first inning. Beltre sprinting into foul territory down toward the A's bullpen with his back to home plate. Made a great over-the-shoulder catch a la Willie Mays. Two and one.
So he went way down that line, and then really without looking over his head just reached out and knew exactly where it was and caught it. I remember one that Omar Vizquel went back into right field on, I think it was in Houston, just like that. And then as he looked up to catch it, he flipped his cap off so that he could see it better, so that the bill of his cap wasn't blocking his view up at the ball.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anyone else do that. But talk about awareness to get a better look at the ball.
Prince Fielder coming down the line and will handle this near the coach's box. Two gone. Well, that's twice now that Zobrist has popped out in foul territory against Colby tonight. And let's take a look at tonight's Coors Light Cold Hard Fact for you, brought to you by the clean, crisp taste of Coors Light. Colby Lewis, 10 wins last year. Jose Guzman, 13 wins in 1991. The only two pitchers in Rangers history to lead the team in wins after missing all of the previous season due to injury. Get a chance to see Guzzi at the ballpark. Does work on Spanish radio with Ronello. Miss the entire year and come back and lead the team. That's pretty strong. Nothing in two now to Billy Butler. Butler rounded into a double play, and that may have been the most important 2 outs for the Rangers in this ballgame. Colby Lewis got that double play with 2 on and 1 out in the first inning.
Yeah, Colby at one point in time had thrown 9 out of 14 balls, given up an infield hit and a walk, and didn't have anybody out. And pitched out of that jam. That was a huge part of the game early. Turned a couple of double plays so far.
Another foul pop-up. Long run over. Be careful out, Prince. On that mound down there in the Ranger bullpen. I've seen a lot of guys hit that thing when they're looking for the ball and fall flat on their face.
Yeah, the elevation is something you can't anticipate. You had an idea it's down there somewhere, but as you're sprinting after a ball looking up at it, if you don't take a look down to see where it is, you can really take a header. But he's going to take a little look right here, and he knew where it was, and there wasn't anything he could do to get far enough to catch that ball.
To the right side, gliding to his left, Odor has it, and that will do it. Another 1-2-3 inning for Colby Lewis. That's 2 out of the 4 that he's worked now. We'll go to the 5th inning here in Oakland. 1-0 Rangers.
fifth inning. In case you missed it earlier, it is Adrian Beltre's 36th birthday today. The ageless wonder told us this afternoon he doesn't like to make a very big deal about his birthdays, but that he was hoping, at the very least, his little bother on this team, Elvis Andrus, would do something nice for him.
He just making my life so miserable that probably at least today he will give me a car or something, Ferrari or something like that.
Or just back off for a little bit. What about that?
Yeah, it would be nice too. Yeah.
He didn't get him a Ferrari, but you know what? He did actually give him an apology. Elvis posting this today on his Instagram account, saying, "Sorry for being so annoying. It's an honor to play right next to you. Happy birthday." And he did, Buzz and Tom, actually get him a real present, a pair of designer sunglasses. That was nice.
Wow.
And Prince Fielder had a similar idea as well, sort of. When asked what he gave Adrian Beltre for his birthday, he barely got it out without laughing, but he said, "Eyeglasses for the old man." He got a big kick out of that for sure. And as always, Adrian Beltre, a very good sport, so we wish him a happy birthday today.
Well, at least they didn't get him a rocking chair. That was the typical.
Baseball is one of the few professions where some of the people in that profession actually could afford to buy someone a car for a birthday present. Really not even know the difference.
Have
to sit down with a pencil to see what the equivalent of a car would have been compared to the average salary that we had back in the early 70s. Probably would have been like buy a set of golf clubs, maybe. Which I never would have bought anybody a set of golf clubs. Yeah, maybe a sub sandwich or something like that. Sunglasses, but they wouldn't have been designer sunglasses.
Leonis Martin up there, and he's going to bang one into center field. His second hit of the night. Well, Martin shooting one to center field, and he is aboard with Elvis coming up. The Rangers now 5 base hits against Jesse Hahn. They've had at least one now in every inning. Or just one in every inning. And Elvis will try and break that streak. More than one here in the 5th. Elvis has grounded out twice, once into a double play. We'll see if Leonis tries to get a jump at first base against Hahn. Pitch out. Both coming up ready to throw. And now since 2013, speaking of stolen bases, one of the American League leaders, Jose Altuve with 92 leads the pack. Down there with 69, Elvis Andrus, and 67, Leonis Martin. Pretty good 1-2 punch for the Rangers. Leonis a pretty good lead now at first base, and Hahn will make him dive back. Hector Ortiz, the Ranger first base coach over there. He's helping Leonis check across the diamond with Tony Beasley, the third base coach, who's flashing the signs out. Is that a green light or a red light? Good. Now time called. Stephen Vogt was the catcher that called that timeout, or asked for the time. Martin stepping that lead off. Elvis waiting. Count of 1 ball and no strikes. There he goes. And the pitch is chopped toward the hole. It is through for a base hit.
A thing of beauty.
Just right on around to third goes Leonis Martin, and Elvis Andrus with his first hit of the year. And it was a well-placed ground ball and a hit and run.
Yeah, that's kind of the definition of a hit and run. You want to make some contact on the ground. The shortstop had vacated shortstop to cover second base in case there was a throw, which leaves shortstop wide open, and the little ground ball was well placed, and now it's first and third with 1 out.
Take it back, watching that replay, that might have been a run and hit.
Yeah,
I think it was a steal attempt by
I think so. I think you're right.
But Elvis doing a good job of finding the vacant part of the infield. So first and third, here is Prince Fielder. He wasn't trying to loop a single in with that swing. He was going for the downs and came up empty. Prince had the RBI base hit in the third inning that drove home Rougned Odor. Also hit by a pitch, so 1 for 1 tonight. Martin at third, Andrus at first. A broken bat. Boy, and the business end of that bat went out and stuck point down right in front of the mound. Take a look at the AT&T U-verse rewind. Last time Prince Fielder was up, Rangers have been shut out the first 11 innings, and Prince Fielder took care of that. Looped one to center, the RBI, and Rougned Odor crossing home plate, the first Ranger to do so this year. Now 0-2 against Hahn. Jesse Hahn now up to the 70 pitch mark as he works here in the 5th inning. And Prince Fielder, well, he has enjoyed hitting in this ballpark. 385 in his last 7 ball games at Odotco Coliseum. Hahn trying to get that two-seamer to run back to the corner. 2-2.
Good try. It came very close. That would have been an impossible pitch to hit if it was called a strike. Whether it was called a strike or not, it was an impossible pitch to hit up and in like that.
There's a base hit to right field. It settles in now. It gets by Gentry. Martin scores. Elvis being waved around. He will score into second base. Prince Fielder, the Rangers now have jumped out in front 3-0.
Well, that's exactly how Prince hit a ball last night. He got an off-speed pitch last night and drilled it just like that, but a little bit higher, right straight to the right fielder for an out. That time it was a little bit lower. It bounced in front of Gentry and then right on by him, but Prince waiting very nicely on that. I think Hahn thought he had him set up for an off-speed pitch. He threw him a changeup after that good fastball up and in, and Prince waited on it, was right on that ball, and drilled that ball over second base. That was a nice bit of hitting right there.
And Prince saw that ball get by Gentry, and he just kept on going to second. So that's going to be a single, 1 RBI for Prince Fielder, and he advances to second on the air. Elvis Andrus scores on that area. Well, Prince pretty fired up. You have seen pretty demonstrative Prince Fielder the first couple of games of this season. So the Rangers are 3 consecutive base hits. They have a 3-0 lead now, and Beltre trying to add to it. Adrian 0 for 2 tonight, a couple of groundouts. And time called, and Beltre backs out. Fielder with 2 RBI this evening. On pace for 162 for the year. Simeon gets a tough in between high. Stays with it nicely. 2 gone.
It's only been a couple of games, but watching Simeon play shortstop, you can see why the A's are pretty happy to have him defensively on their team. He's looked very good, nice and smooth, making all the plays. Had a nice strong arm for shortstop too.
Yep.
Made a couple of plays that he's had to charge, handled that hop relatively easily, and it was a tricky hop, not a simple ball to play. It came up on him. Quick hands, it looks like.
No, 2 away. Shin-Soo Choo up there. Choo had a leadoff double in the second inning. Rounded to short his last time. On dealing a strike. It is 0-1.
Seventh ball to Simeon just tonight.
A big breaking ball that Choo lays off of. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I did a little quick math, Buzz. If you say the average salary today, which it is $4 million, and a player bought another player a car for his birthday that cost $25,000, and then you go back 40 years and say the average salary was $40,000, which it probably was, that'd be the equivalent of a gift that cost about $250. So a player today could buy a $25,000 car. Back then, we would have bought a pair of designer sunglasses. Would have been about the same.
Yeah, about the
same equivalent.
Although today, where do you find a new car for $25,000?
Well,
what these guys would buy.
Well, not what these guys would buy, but maybe they'd buy it for one of their kids.
There you go. There you go.
Maybe one of the coach's kids.
And Chu rolls over on 1 to Ike Davis down at first.
I'll rework it for like a $100,000 car.
All right. Rangers score twice on 3 hits and error and 1 man left. Bottom of the 5th coming up. 3-0 Rangers. Markin overlooking center field. The Hyundai Club has sweeping views of the ballpark and features an inclusive bar and buffet. Individual tickets for the Hyundai Club are available for Saturday, April 11th, Sunday, April 12th against the Astros, and then on Monday, April 13th against the Angels. Just visit TexasRangers.com/Hyundai Club to get your seats. And Ranger fans taking in the evening for Colby Lewis. And not a good night
ball
on that.
just wedged right in there. Wow. They've got nice padding there compared to what they used long ago. It's night and day. But on a hard ball like that, even with that padding, you take a pretty good jolt.
Yeah, I would think so. 0-2. Corcoran showing no ill effects though from it. Big breaking ball from Colby is in the dirt. 1-2 to Davis. Colby Lewis, 67 pitches thus far. He's allowed just 1 hit, a couple of walks. Rangers now have given him a 3-0 cushion. 2-2. Inning by inning, Colby 19 in the first, and since then 17 has been the max. And a base hit to right. Not hit hard, but Ike Davis pulls it through the hole. And the A's have their leadoff man aboard here in the 5th inning. And before Brett Lowry comes up, let's take time for a Mazda game break. Here's John Radigan. John?
Third baseman, Brett Lowry.
All right, John, thank you. Here it's Rangers leading 3-0. A's have their leadoff man aboard here in the 5th inning. Brett Lowry, a strikeout the first time that he faced Colby Lewis. Breaking ball from Colby on the outside corner. Lowry came over to trade with the Toronto Blue Jays. Donaldson going to Toronto. Off the end of the bat, foul. It's 0-2. Lowry and the starter for Thursday, Kendall Graveman, fine young pitching prospect, coming over from Toronto in exchange for Donaldson. Billy Beane, in case you missed it, we were talking about it last night a little bit. Beane pulled off 9 trades over the winter for 27 different players involved. And Lowry gone on strikes, his second time that he has struck out swinging, one gone.
Yeah, and I think the next time that he faces Colby Lewis, he's going to have to hit this same pitch, that slider. He's missed it twice by quite a margin, down and away. And Colby's made perfect pitches to Lowry when he's got ahead of him with 2 strikes and got him to fish for both of those balls.
One out here, Stephen Vogt, who flied to deep center field his first time. Mike Davis, the runner at first. Colby comes back with strike 1. How about that? He had 9 trades in a single offseason with 27 different players involved.
That's unbelievable.
That's doing some wheeling and dealing.
Boy, you put Billy Beane and A.J. Preller together, he might just say, I'll trade you your team for my team.
Yeah. Was it the Orioles who did that? And that huge trade, Paul Richards?
Yeah, Paul Richards supposedly made that offer. I can't remember who it was with. each guy got fed up with his team and say, okay, I'll trade you your team for my team. You're complaining about your team, fine, take my team. I got a worse team than you do. That would have required some paperwork.
Yeah, probably. Vogt gone on strikes. Back-to-back punch-outs for Colby Lewis. And Ike Davis cooling his heels down there at first base 2 outs later after his leadoff single.
Yeah, Colby dialing it up. That looked like a backdoor slider. Came right on the outside corner. Vogt missed it. 4th strikeout for Colby.
Now Marcus Semien will step up. Semien popped out to Rougned Odor back in the 2nd inning. I think that's the 3rd inning. Colby tuning that slider up. He's something you see happen to Colby quite frequently when he gets going and gets that slider, and he can almost throw that in a thimble somewhere, wherever he wants to. That's when he starts racking up the strikeout totals we've seen over his last 4 or 5 years with the Rangers. He's had 10+ strikeouts when he's gotten that slider going. Just missed with that one, 2-1. Semien acquired from the White Sox as part of the deal that sent Jeff Samardzija back to the Windy City. Out of play. Got a kick out of Samardzija. He said when he left from the Cubs and came out here with the A's last year, he said he decided he probably wasn't going to go back there, so he sold a lot of property he accumulated in Chicago. He said, now I go back there, I don't have anything. Baseball's funny like that. Popped him up. Rougned Odor getting some pop-up practice from Marcus Semien. That'll do it. So the leadoff single, Ike Davis left stranded at first base. We'll go to the 6th inning. Rangers 3, A's nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $200 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Clint Askew from DeSoto. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Clint Askew from DeSoto will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Now Ryan Rua to start things off. Mitch Moreland and Carlos Corporan to follow. Jesse Hahn back for his 6th inning of work. And Rua, a rip and a miss, 0-1. Ryan tonight 0 for 2, a fly ball to deep center and a ground ball to short. Rangers 3 runs on 7 hits tonight. Rua, the 25-year-old from Amherst, Ohio. Takes it a little bit low. Rua went to college at Lake Erie College. It's in Paynesville, Ohio. Rangers took him in the 17th round. You heard John Daniels talking about him. Scouting a guy, you've got to be real pleased with your scouting department when you hit the guy's 17th round and he makes it to the major leagues with the kind of impact that Rua has had.
Yep, for sure. You know, as they say, it's a lot easier to notice kids that are picked in the top couple of rounds because everybody tends to like those kind of players. But I think a scout really earns his living when he can make a pick like that and have that guy turn out to be a solid big league player.
Now your son Tim is a scout.
Yeah, he scouts with the Tigers.
You guys talk a lot about the business of scouting?
He doesn't talk to me much about it, but I like when I call him, I ask him all sorts of questions.
Yeah.
I drive him crazy. Finally, he gets off the phone and probably says, God. But I love asking him the scouting questions. And scouts are such an interesting group to talk to. They have like photographic memories. They remember players that they saw 10 years before and what city it was, what the weather was like, who they were sitting with at the ball game. It's really a very interesting profession.
More like a towering pop-up that Brett Lauer, the third baseman, able to stagger around underneath and corral for out number 2.
It's also a very difficult profession. I found out when I first got involved in it a little bit. I went to a tournament with Joe Klein, who was the farm director at the time. There was 8 college teams playing in that tournament. And after about watching 2 games, I concluded to myself, I can't tell the difference between one player and the next. I could pick out Odemy, McDowell, and the best players in the tournament. But after that, they all started to run together. And so the job that the scouts do when they go to tournaments and they're able to look at countless college players, all of them are good, solid players, and be able to pick out the gems and know which round you should take them in. It's really an art. And the scouts that do it well over a period of years, should be rewarded for it. It's the backbone of any franchise.
Right.
You just don't have a good organization if you don't have a good scouting department. And when you get a good one, you have to do whatever it takes to keep them.
2 balls and no strikes to count to Carlos Corporan. Carlos 0 for 2 in his first start of the year. Ahead in the count now, 3 balls, no strikes. 15,025 on hand tonight. Braving the cool evening out here at Odotco Coliseum. Less than half of what was here last night. Over 36,000 on hand for opening night. 3-1 to Corporan. Jesse Hahn. Next pitch will be number 90 for the evening. Full count. Carlos trying to get aboard to extend this 6th inning. He'll be followed by Rougned Odor. Payoff pitch to center field. Sam Fuld makes the grab. That will do it. A 1-2-3 inning. That's the first 1-2-3 frame that Hahn has worked tonight. 5.5 in the books. Colby Lewis and the Rangers leading 3-0. Save nearly 50% on 4 tickets, 4 jumbo hot dogs, 4 Coke soft drinks, 2 kids-owned wristbands, and 1 souvenir program. 2 locations are available, the upper reserve for $69 and lower reserve for $113. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials to get your Coca-Cola family packs for the April 13th through 15th series with the Angels in town. Greg Gentry, second plate appearance of the night. To a walk his first time. Sends Shin-Soo Choo over into the bullpen to make that grab for out number 1.
It's fun to watch balls go up in the air here. We talk about it every time we come here, how much room there is. But the outfielder and the infielders, they can just run forever out there. It's just not a matter of whether it's going to stay in play. It's just a matter of whether anyone can get to it or not. Then you've got kind of a landmine out there, which is the pitcher's mound that you have to watch out for.
Well, we talk about this being a pitcher's ballpark from the standpoint of the night the ball doesn't carry.
Yeah.
And you can add into that the amount of foul territory. It's cavernous here.
Yeah, that's a double whammy for a hitter.
Yeah.
You hit your best shot to center field and it's caught, and then you hit one foul that'd be 20 rows back in most stadiums and it's caught for an out. So it takes away from your power numbers on occasion, and it makes it hard to hit for a higher average because of. I'm sure the A's have done some kind of a study on this. How many foul balls are caught for each batter that would have gone into the stands in any other ballpark, whether it's 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure what it would add up to in the course of a season playing your home games here, but it could be anywhere from probably 3 to 7 or 8 points on your batting average for a regular player.
Ball's hit hard by fielder and down into the corner. Full scooting around second. He is going for third. Odor's throw, and it hits Fuld as he's sliding in. Gets away from Beltre, but backed up nicely by Kobe Lewis. Well, Sam Fuld with his second triple in as many nights. A 1-out 3-bagger here in the 6th inning.
Well, one thing Fuld is doing is he's hitting a high fastball. It looked like he got another one right there. Pitch up. Let's take a look and see if that's what it was. Kobe's trying to throw it down and away, but instead it's up and in the middle of the strike zone. And just like in last night's ball game when Fuld ripped a couple of high fastballs, he rips another one right there.
And not much you can do about that. No defense for.
Pretty nice relay throw from Chu and another decent throw from Odor. Made it a fairly close play if the ball didn't hit him.
Well, Fuld at third with 1 out. Eric Sogard, the hitter. Sogard has walked and struck out. Rangers with a 3-0 lead will play the infield back. They will give up the run for an all-important out. Colby spins around Sogard. Sogard walked in the first, called out on strikes in the 4th. Colby comes back with a strike. Over the years, Sogard just 1 for 8 against Colby Lewis. Foul, and just foul down that third base line. Sogard poking that the other way, and Beltre, of course, playing off the line with a left-hander up there. One ball, 2 strikes. Carlos Corporán wants that slider down and in.
Good pitch. Wasn't in, but it was in on his fist anyway.
Yeah, that's the one. If Colby if Colby buries this in that back foot, he gets the strikeout. But that was up just a little bit, as you mentioned, Tom, on his fist, so he got the foul ball instead.
Yeah, I'd like to see where that would have gone if he hit it on the middle of the bat. He might end up getting a base hit on a little blooper over Colby's head that stopped before Elvis could get to it.
Yeah. Up the middle, that'll get the run home. Elvis across the field. And And it's a 3-1 Ranger lead now as Sogard gets his first RBI of the year. Full scores. And now there are 2 outs with the bases empty. And action starting now in support of Colby Lewis. Keone Kela, hard-throwing young right-hander.
And Jeff Bannister has said that Keone, at the start of the season, till the whole bullpen is really settled, is going to be his 7th inning guy. So that's why he's warming up right now. Sean Tollison would probably have the 8th inning for his assignment.
We'll take a look at our Kubota power stats. Keone Kela, 36 games last year at AA Frisco. How about 55 strikeouts and 38 2/3 innings? Zobrist to left field. Handling to his right. Ryan Rua handles that. That will do it. The A's do score a run, however, on 1 hit. Nobody left. We're moving on to the 7th inning. It's now the Rangers 3 and the A's 1. Work, and he's been helped out by a couple of Ranger double plays. This is the longest outing for Colby or for any Ranger pitcher, as a matter of fact, this spring. 6 full innings, and Colby very, very strong here in Oakland, as we are accustomed to seeing him pitch in this ballpark. Our 4-game summary: Rangers 3 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. The A's 1 run, just 3 hits against Colby Lewis, and 1 error. 2 walks, 4 strikeouts for Colby, 93 pitches. As we head to the top of the 7th inning, and a new hurler on the mound for the Oakland A's. That's the left-hander Eric O'Flaherty, who we saw finish up the ball game last night. Odor coming out of his shoes and swung over the top of O'Flaherty. Last season, 21 ball games for the A's, 1-0 with a 2.25 opponents. Just a 2.05 batting average against O'Flaherty. He's a 30-year-old out of Walla Walla, Washington.
Okay, Buzz. So I've done the unofficial math.
Okay.
If Elvis Andrus, let's say he's making $14 million a year.
Okay.
And he buys Adrian Beltre a $100,000 car. Mm-hmm. That would be the equivalent in 1972 of me making $10,000, which I was, buying my roommate Rich Billings a $70 sport coat.
There you go.
So that's how far baseball has come in 28, 38, 40 plus years. A $100,000 car for Elvis would have been a $70 sport coat for me.
But it doesn't diminish your generosity for spending the $70.
No, I never did. Had I bought that sport coat, you'd be right, but I never would have bought him a sport coat. I think our meal money, I don't know what the meal money was back then, $10 a day, something like that.
Yeah,
the meal money nowadays is, I don't know, $90 or $100 a day.
And Rugnet down on strikes as O'Flaherty fans the left-hander.
Heck, the meal money today is more than we were making for our salary.
Number 2.
You're right.
The meal money is $100 a day. You're on the road for 80 games. It's almost $8,000 is meal money.
Yeah.
Roughly $8,000, and we were making the minimum salary, which is $10,000. The players today make almost as much money in meal money for a year as we did for our salary. Of course, food costs a little bit more today than it did back then. Try having breakfast at the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, that $10 that we got for meal money, that's the tip.
Yeah.
For breakfast.
Yeah.
Leonis Martin, 2 out of 3 tonight. He scored a run, a couple of singles. Facing O'Flaherty, and the pitch in the dirt to Leonis. Martin, an infield single to start things tonight, back in the first. And in the 5th inning, got that 2-run rally going with a solid base hit to center with 1 out. Came around to score on Prince Fielder's RBI base hit. And he is gone here. O'Flaherty now has retired the 2 left-handed hitters he's faced on strikes.
I'm sure that's why Bob Melvin brought him in that situation. He was going to get a chance to face the 2 lefties, and he took care of it. Pretty good stuff.
Back-to-back punch-outs, 2 away. Elvis Andrus, 1 for 3, will step in. But Jesse Hahn, the starter for the A's tonight, went 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned. No walks, 3 strikeouts. And Elvis, another base hit to center. He is 2 for 2 in the last couple of innings. And we'll see if Elvis wants to break out the running shoes. Hector Ortiz over there having a little chat with Elvis as they look across the diamond to Tony Beasley. Prince Fielder steps in 2 for 2 this evening with 2 runs driven home.
One thing Jeff Bannister has done with his lineup is he's alternated left and right-hand hitters. There's 5 left-handed hitters. Martin leads off, and then it goes left, right, all the way through. So it makes it a little tougher if you've got a very good left-hander in the bullpen to bring him in to face a lot of left-hand hitters. But if you bring him in to face the 9th hitter, he gets the only chance in the lineup to get 2 of them back-to-back.
And Fielder rocket down to first, but right at Ike Davis. So that'll do it for the Rangers. Elvis stranded after his single. Stretch time at O.Go Coliseum. It's the Rangers 3, the A's 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. Sports Service is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, widgets, and more every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Keone Kela making his major league debut here tonight. This 21-year-old from Washington. Boy, he had a spectacular spring, as you can see by those numbers. Just outstanding. He did not give up a run each of his last 5 outings. He is facing Billy Butler to begin things here in the 7th inning. Kela, one of 6 rookies. Long run for Fielder, and Prince can't quite get there. He's pretty frisky there. He's covering a lot of ground.
The fans got on Prince for not tossing a ball during warm-ups, so he just went over and got that ball and threw it in the dugout instead. That's what you get for getting on me. I won't give you the ball. Sorry.
Yep. Nothing in 2. Kela has to pause because Butler had asked for time. Now everybody's ready. A rocket by Elvis into left center field. Now Butler got that 0-2 pitch up away from him. And he is on with a leadoff single.
Yeah, Keone got ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. And the one thing we've seen from Butler so far early in the season is he has chased off-speed pitches down and away, which would have seemed to be the perfect time to do it. Instead, it looked like he tried to waste a fastball, and Butler just got on top of that high fastball and ripped it into left field. Good swing.
Skag pitch tracker showing you that that's still the prime spot that Billy Butler loves to hit in. Now Kela misses outside to Ike Davis. Davis 1 for 2 tonight. Had a 5th inning single. He's also popped out. Keone back to the plate. Ball 2. Kela throughout his minor league career struck out a 31% of all the batters he faced. Wow. That's pretty solid.
Well, one thing we noticed in spring training is, in addition to being a guy with a good fastball, he was developing a pretty good changeup too. It looked like it's going to be a good pitch for him.
Behind the count here to Davis. Fires a fastball right down through there, 2-1.
Key situation. Yesterday the relievers came in a game that was out of hand to get comfortable innings. Keone gets his opportunity today with the game on the line late in the ball game. Trying to turn it over to the 8th inning man and keep it a 3-1 ball game. A little bit different type of an appearance for your first big league appearance than it would have been last night.
Yeah. Skag pitch tracker showing you the dispersal of those pitches.
But that's, the way he pitched in spring training, he earned the opportunity to be the guy that pitches in the 7th inning, hopefully with a lead. That's why he didn't pitch last night, because he wouldn't have been in that situation.
Right.
Jeff Bannister, I think, was impressed by his poise, impressed by his stuff, and give him the opportunity to pitch that 7th inning.
Time called. Carlos Corbrand wanted to rethink the whole situation. 3 balls, 2 strikes. 1 on, nobody out. Kela set to go. Lost it. Down and away, and a single followed by a walk. Now the A's have the tying runs aboard and nobody out, and that's going to elicit a visit from Mike Maddox. Well, while we have a second here, we'll take a look at the back of the bullpen. This is the way that Jeff Bannister has set it up at the moment. Keone Kela, who is in the 7th inning here tonight, has been designated, as Tom told you, for that role. Sean Tollison, the 8th inning man, getting the ball game turned over to Natale Feliz for the 9th inning. And, of course, Tanner Shepard's getting ready. He is on the disabled list and will be available once that ankle is not painful anymore to come off the disabled list next week and join the ball club, hopefully. Well, conference concluded. John Tollison with Anthony Bass down there in that bullpen. Mendez, Feliz, Moret. There's Lowry, who struck out both times that he faced Kobe Lewis. Keone Kela dropped in an off-speed pitch to him.
Yeah, Lowry's seen 7 pitches tonight. They've all been strikes. Struck out twice on 3 pitches from Kobe Lewis.
I think they've all had a bend in them too, haven't they?
The last 2 had for sure. Strikeout pitches.
0-2.
Yeah, I think if Keone could go back to Butler 0-2, that's what he would have thrown right there.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's trying to throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, maybe get it out of the strike zone where Butler would chase it, but Butler was able to hit it anyway.
He's got Lowry 0-2 here. Got him swinging.
Boy, that's some good pitching right there.
3 straight hammers, and Lowry strikes out for the 3rd time. 1 big out.
And you got Lowry going up there with a 2-run deficit with 2 men on base, wanting to drive something and make something happen, and he took advantage of his aggressiveness by throwing those 3 off-speed pitches. First one was a strike, he missed it, and the next 2 were out of the strike zone, and he swung it all the last 2. So he's seen 9 pitches and had 3 strikeouts.
You know, feel like he's trying to hit with a sword. not going too good.
Has he taken any of them?
No. Well, no, he did.
Did he take one of them?
Yeah.
Against Kobe?
Yeah. And Kobe painted the black on the outside corner. Well, here's Stephen Vogt. You got to be careful with him. That was something other than a fastball. It looked like the changeup to Vogt for strike 1. Vogt tonight, a fly ball to center and a strikeout.
Well, Kobe in the 1st inning pitched around a single and a walk with no out. See if Keone can do it right here later on in the ball game in the 7th, trying to preserve the lead for Kobe.
1-1 the count. Kela will turn 22 on the 16th of April. Base hit to right field. Butler being held up at 3rd as Chu gets the ball back in quickly. But the A's have the bases loaded and 1 out. And Marcus Semien coming to the plate.
We talked about Vogt last night. He's a little bit older. He's 30 years old. It's not like he's a rookie. He's been around a long time. But he's taken advantage of his time in the big leagues with the A's. He's a tough out. He swings the bat. Especially you give him a good fastball like that down the middle of the plate. He ripped that ball. Hit it so hard that they couldn't score Butler from 3rd base. Get a double play ball and get right out of the inning right here.
The 2 singles and a walk have loaded the bases. 1 out. Marcus Semien has popped out twice tonight. The breaking ball from Kela is a little bit high. Semien 1 for 6 thus far in 2015. One ball, 1 strike. Rangers back at every position on the infield. They will, in an attempt to turn an inning-ending double play, will give up a run on a slow hit ball.
Semien a little susceptible to the strikeout. He struck out a couple of times in last night's ball game as well.
Kela making him wave at a couple there.
Yeah, I think if you can 1 ball and 2 strikes, keep the ball down below the knees, you might get him to swing at one a lot like Lowry did.
Kela with the 1-2.
Good try.
Couldn't get him to offer at that one. Yeah, you're right. That was a very well located pitch. Trusted Carlos Corcoran to block a ball that might be in the dirt for Keone Kela. You know the veteran back there is not going to let it get by him. Now the 2-2. Just off the outside corner, a full count.
3-2. I think he's going to swing. I'd have to go with that same breaking ball down and out of the strike zone.
Kela ready, the payoff pitch. Got him on the fist with a 94-mile-an-hour heater. He wasn't going to do much with that.
No, that was a good pitch. Can't go wrong with that pitch. Fastball down and in.
We'll try another 3-2. Weakly to short. Elvis steps on the bag, fires the first time. A 6-3 double play, and Kela works out of trouble.
Throw him a changeup.
And a happy young man said, yeah, didn't see too many like that turn in the minor leagues.
That's a moment right there. I hope he gets a video for that.
On to the 8th, 3-1 Rangers. After tonight here, tomorrow night against the A's, then Thursday afternoon, then back home to open the home season against the Houston Astros. Friday afternoon through Sunday afternoon, the Angels come in to finish that homestand. Well, how about the way that last half inning ended? Keone Kela, the bases loaded, a 3-2 pitch. He got a changeup down. And the double play ground ball, the Rangers turned their third double play, and there is a happy 21-year-old.
That's a beautiful moment in baseball. A rookie pitches out of a bases-loaded jam with a 2-run lead, and his teammates rally behind him. Doesn't get any better than that.
Sure doesn't.
He'll never forget that moment.
It's hard to tell who's happier about that, his teammates or Keone Kela.
Adrian's going for it, boy. That's a birthday swing.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that on the birthday, right? Jesse Chavez, the new pitcher. 1 ball, 1 strike. Chavez, the jack of all trades for the Oakland A's. Last year, 32 games, 21 starts. He did a great job for him.
Sure
starting job. 8-8 with an ERA of 3.45. This is outside. It's 3-1 to Beltre. Adrian 0 for 3 on his birthday. 3 ground ball outs. Facing the 31-year-old right-hander Jesse Chavez. That pitch fouled out of play.
It was a third inning-ending double play for the Rangers in this ball game. Kobe had a couple of them too. Elvis had to put all he had on that ball to nip Simeon at first base.
Beltre to center, but that's playable for full. One gone. And before Chu comes up, let's take time for a Mazda game break. Once again, here's John Radigan. All right, John, thank you. Shin-Soo Choo, 1 for 3 tonight with a second inning double. Rangers with 8 hits against the trio of Oakland pitchers tonight. Jesse Hahn worked the first 6. Enrico Flaherty worked the 7th inning. And now Jesse Chavez here in the 8th. One and 2 to Chu. Sean Thomason in that Ranger bullpen, the 8th inning man. We showed you the setup of the Ranger pen right now. Up the middle, Sogard to the backhand. Good throw, just does get Chu. Two gone, and Ryan Rua will be next.
You look at Kella pitch out of that inning, Buzz. He's 21 years old. He made a team for the first time. And when you read about him, you know that he's a hard-throwing 21-year-old. Yet he pitched his way out of that inning like a veteran. He used his off-speed pitches to get out of the inning. His slider and his changeup. Got the double play with the changeup. Struck out Lowry on either changeups or sliders. So it wasn't just rearing back and throwing it hard. It was pitching his way out of that jam. Good job by Keone.
I'm sure that's what Mike Maddox, one of the things that Mike is probably talking to you about right there, is how to manage yourself. And you don't want to see a young pitcher that has an arm like that yet shy away from throwing the fastball after a guy like Butler turns one around on you. But at the same time, you got to be smart about it.
At the same time, you got a 2-run lead. You got to get out of that inning without giving up a run.
Exactly.
I think no matter what kind of a fastball he had today, if he'd thrown fastballs to Lowry, Lowry would have hit the fastball. He was so pumped up to hit the fastball and do something that whether it was Keone or whether it was Carlos Corporon, the combination going with the off-speed pitches for Lowry, that was the right thing to do in that at-bat. And you can tell by how far out in front of those pitches he was.
And Rua down on strike. Chavez has a 1-2-3 8th inning. 7.5 in the books, and it looks like Sean Thomason will be coming in to start the bottom of the 8th with the Rangers leading by 2. are back this season. Come on out to show your school spirit while you cheer on the Rangers. Schools involved this season are Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State, SMU, and North Texas. Go to TexasRangers.com/UDays to get more information. Well, Sean Tollison, the 26-year-old right-hander, on now, and Tollison, a workhorse last year, 64 ball games. An opponent's batting average of .214 was all. And boy, he really got himself in prime position to be a big part of the bullpen. Jake Smolinski now has taken over in right field for the Rangers. Craig Gentry starting things off. 1 ball, 1 strike facing Sean Tollison. Tollison, the 3rd pitcher used tonight by Jeff Bannister.
Fastballs by Sean, all of them 93, 94 miles an hour, right in the outside corner, right at the knees.
1-2 to Gentry. Got him swinging. Pumped it up to 93 again and got Gentry for out number 1.
That's just going right after him with your best fastball. Good job of pitching right there by Sean.
Center fielder, 23, Sam.
Tollison last year, 69 strikeouts in 71 innings, so close to a strikeout per inning. 1 gone back to the top of the order for Sam Fuld, who is 2 for 3 this evening. Tollison pours in strike 1.
Fultz had a triple in the first 2 games. He did the same thing last year for the A's. He didn't hit another one for a few months.
There's that changeup. That has been a weapon that Sean Tollison has developed the last couple of years that has really served him well.
Yep. It's just not a show me pitch. It's a pitch you can get someone out with. It's good changeup.
Jonas Martin got a good break on the ball coming in and grabs it for out number 2. Well, Tollison a strikeout, a fly out. 2 gone, bases empty for Eric Sogard. Tollison last year, we talked about that .214 opponent's batting average. That was 7th lowest in the American League for relievers last year. Dellin Betances with the Yankees had a minuscule opponent's batting average, 149. But the other mortal guys were a little bit higher than that. Sogard 0 for 2. Had an RBI on a ground out in the 6th inning. Off the end of the bat, Beltre. Nice backhanded flag down of that cue shot off the bat of Sogard. A 1-2-3 inning for Sean Tollison. We're going to the 9th in Oakland. The Rangers 3 and the A's 1.
from their first win of the season, a 3-1 lead right now as we head into the ninth. And we want to remind you about Game 3 of this 4-game set with the A's coming your way tomorrow here on Fox Sports Southwest. Our pitching matchup, another good one. Ross Detweiler set to make his Rangers debut against Scott Kazmir now with the Oakland A's. Detweiler told me this afternoon he may not sleep very good tonight. He is anxious to get out there and have make a nice first impression with the Rangers and return to the starting rotation as a starter. We'll be making a start for the first time, guys, since the year 2013.
All right, Dana, thank you. Yeah, I would imagine there'll be a few butterflies for Ross Detweiler. It's all right. Your title, he gets out there between the white lines, and once you throw that first pitch, everything's all right. Mitch Moreland leading off for the Rangers here in the ninth inning. Bottom third of the Ranger order, facing Jesse Chavez. Mitch 1 for 3 this evening. It's it pretty well to left, but right at Zobrist. One gone. It's good to see Mitch driving the ball the other way, too, with authority. And he did that a couple times last night, and he's done it a couple of times here tonight. And the backest end of the Rangers bullpen, Neftali Feliz, trying to get himself ready for what would be the first save of the year if the score stays as it is now. Carlos Corporant 0 for 3 tonight, a couple of fly balls and a strikeout. Rangers 3 runs on 8 hits. The A's 1 run on 5 hits. Oakland has committed the only error of the game. And that got Corporant. He didn't move an inch.
I think his arm went numb on him.
He might have.
Can't move it.
Well, Corporant hit by a pitch. Second Ranger to be hit by a pitch tonight. Make that the third Ranger to be hit by a pitch.
He doesn't have a pad on his arm either. He just stayed right there and took it on the elbow. I thought he had a pad the way he took that pitch. Maybe he does underneath his sweatshirt, but doesn't look like it.
The way he's grimacing, I don't think there's a pad under there.
Oh, like Cesar Tovar used to get hit without, didn't wear pads back then, didn't bother him at all.
Yeah, Bob Melvin out to the mound, and with the left-hander Rougned Odor coming up, they want to go to the bullpen. It's Fernando Abad. Oh, the tall, lanky left-hander will come on, and while he does and takes his warm-up tosses, we'll take a timeout. We're back after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Fernando Abad, the 29-year-old left-hander out of the Dominican Republic, on now to take over here in the ninth inning. 1 on and 1 out. And Odor, the hitter. Odor has been hit by a pitch tonight. He's 0 for 2 officially. Takes strike one. Abad, a workhorse last year for Oakland, 69 appearances. Just 57 in the third inning, so pretty much a left-handed matchup guy. Very low opponent's batting average, as you noticed. Abad, the fourth pitcher used tonight by Bob Melvin. Popped up. Sogard, the second baseman. On the rim of the outfield grass, that's out number 2. And Tom, you talked about the only opportunity a left-handed pitcher coming in against the Rangers has to face a couple of left-handers back-to-back, and it is Odor and back to the top of the order for Leonis Martin.
Yeah, and they've done it twice tonight. O'Flaherty and now Abad.
Well, Leonis Martin, when he faced O'Flaherty, he struck out swinging. Hopefully they'll have better luck against Abad here in the 9th inning. To Ike Davis, and a quick and tidy exit job by Fernando Abad. Rangers gone, they strand a runner. Bottom of the 9th coming up is Neftali Feliz time, with the Rangers leading 3-1. Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealers. The EcoBoost Challenge is on at your Texas Ford dealer. Get to your best in Texas Ford dealer today. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning here in Oakland, and this was the scene in 2009 of Neftali Feliz's Major League debut, and he retired the first 6 Oakland A's that he faced as a Major Leaguer with 4 strikeouts. He doesn't have to be that spectacular tonight, but a 3-up, 3-down inning would be nice. You got Ben Zobrist leading things off. Neffy, a 26-year-old. Misses low and inside. 2 balls, no strikes.
Well, Zobrist is a guy who make you throw strikes. He's had seasons where he's walked 90 times. He walked 75 times last year.
Zobrist 0 for 3 tonight.
Yeah, he popped up 3 times.
He pumps a strike in. 2-1. Rangers with that 2-run advantage. Chopper foul. French fielder guarding the line, so he had to take a a step or two on the other side of the line into foul territory. 2-2 now. Go back over the years for Phillies and Zobrist. Zobrist 2 out of 5 against Neffy. 2 hopper out to Elvis. 1 out.
They came back from a 2-0 count, got that leadoff hitter. Tough hitter in Zobrist. Good way to start the 9th inning.
Now Phillies will face the designated hitter, Billy Butler. Butler 1 for 3 tonight. Had a leadoff single in the 7th inning. That was off of Keone Kela. Ended up getting as far as third base, but was stranded there. To right field, Smolinski. Out number 2.
You know, a lot has been said about Neffy's fastball not always being mid-90s. It's been solid in this game. Only 7 or 8 pitches, 6 or 7 pitches. It's been 93 miles an hour, and that fastball got in on Butler. Looked like he hit a shot put. Ball just clanked out to right field. So he's probably not going to be a guy that comes in and throws 96 to 98 like he used to. And he's just got to work around that and get him out throwing 92, 93, and hopefully 94.
Yeah, if you keep it off the barrel of the bat, you're going to be in pretty good shape. Mike Davis takes strike 1. Davis 1 for 2 with a single and a walk. Phillies coming all the way back from Tommy John surgery, a saw-off job, and Elvis can't come up with it. Beltre was there, but didn't have time to throw out Davis. The A's have life. That bat just exploded, and the ball had to have some funny English on it going out to Elvis.
Yeah, he threw him a changeup after the fastball, and he hit it right off the end of the bat. He fooled him. I think Elvis had a little more time than the way he played this ball. Davis, not an exceptionally fast hitter.
That's going to be Elvis's second error in as many nights. Last night a throwing error, this one on a ground ball. So 2 outs, the tying run now coming to home plate. Brett Lowry is the hitter. Lowry has struck out 3 times tonight.
No, it's a smart pitch.
Yeah.
Because Lowry's going up there trying to hit the fastball.
Sure he is.
Threw him a slider for a strike.
He hasn't seen a fastball tonight. He hasn't seen a fastball since batting practice. I don't think he's going to. He's seen 2 breaking balls.
Yeah.
Guess what's coming now?
I'd say he might as well get used to it. That's what he's going to have to show the Rangers, that he can hit a breaking ball.
0-2. Phillies sets at the belt. Got him swinging.
Wow. He's
going with it, staying with it.
I think he's seen 12 pitches and struck out 4 times.
Yeah, he has.
I don't think